This lesson is on negative exponents. When we're talking about negative exponents, we're talking about finding the reciprocal of what's being taken to that power. We have x to the negative 2 in our first example, and so we want the reciprocal of that. So that becomes 1 over x squared. And you'll notice when you take the reciprocal, you end up with a positive exponent instead of a negative exponent. So on this second example, this is 2x to the negative 2 over 1. So if we find the reciprocal of that, that becomes 1 over 2x squared. Once your exponent is positive, you can go ahead and simplify that up a little more. This is 1 over 2x times 2x. So that would be 1 over 4x squared. You want to wait to do any simplifying like that until after you have gotten rid of any negative exponents. For the last one here, we have 3x squared to the negative 3 over 1. So that becomes 1 over 3x squared to the third. Now that we only have positive exponents, we can simplify that up. 1 over 3x squared times itself 3 times, which becomes 1 over, and then we'll multiply our coefficients first. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. X squared times x squared times x squared is x to the 6th. Oops, you can't see that top one. Let's bring him down. Here we have 2 over x to the negative 2. Now x to the negative 2 is still its reciprocal, 1 over x squared. But we don't really like to have those complex fractions where we have a fraction within a fraction. So what's going to happen to that x squared, if it's on our denominator, in order to make the exponent positive, pardon me, not the variable, the exponent, we can just move it to the numerator. And this is the same as saying 2 times x squared. So if your negative exponent is on the denominator, you can just move it to the top. For example, if we have 3x to the x to the negative 2 over 4y to the negative 4th, both of our variables here have negative exponents. The y to the negative 4th and the x to the negative 2. So to make our x's exponent positive, we're going to move it to the denominator, and to make y to the negative 4th have a positive exponent, we're going to move it to the numerator. So this becomes 3y to the 4th over 4x squared. This can be a very confusing topic, but if you'll remember, if it has a negative exponent, to just move it, that will help. If it's on the top, you move it to the bottom. If it's on the bottom, you move it to the top. Sometimes we sing the song, you've got to move it, you've got to move it, move it. And I know that that sounds silly, but when you have negative exponents, that's what you're going to do. Be careful that you're paying attention to what the exponent is attached to. Here on this example, we have 3x to the negative 2, and it's common to want to move the whole thing. But the negative 2 is only being applied to the x. So this becomes 3 over x squared. And then our last example, we have an x that's being taken to the negative 5th, so we're going to move that to the bottom with our 10. And then we're going to simplify the coefficients just like they're a regular fraction. 2 over 10 simplifies to 1 over 5. So this becomes 1 over 5x to the 5th. And that's just a quick review of negative exponents.